Hey guys, so I finally decided to pull the trigger and get a Rolex. I've been using a Tiger Formula One chronograph for I think it's the past 6 years. And I've been looking online. Mainly it was at the Hulk and the Batman. But while I was going to get it from the dealer, an offer came up, and this was through the grey market here in Dubai. And I mean, obviously the shops here in Dubai who do deal in grey market, they're very professional and, they're very helpful as well. So this watch came up and, just after seeing it in person kind of changed my whole view on the actual watch compared to how it looked online. And let's kind of just open it so you guys can see what I'm talking about. And boom. This is the watch itself. This is a Yachtmaster 2 in stainless steel and rose gold, or as they say in Rolex, ever rose. And this is an oyster bracelet, as you can see. It is a very boss looking watch, if I have to say so myself. And it has a blue ceramic dial, as you can see over there. Accents are shown all across the watch in rose gold and stainless steel all around it as well. Let's kind of take this out. Obviously what you get in the box is information such as catalogs and the certificate, which is very important here. And obviously this should match the inner lining of the dial in terms of the serial number, which is a unique part of the Rolex watches. So I suggest, if anyone is buying, to make sure that the serial number matches with the actual certificate that you get from Rolex, which is that. I'm just going to push that to the side. So yeah, this is the watch, and it is a very good looking watch. When I was in the store, when I was getting the links done, they mentioned to me saying, "Where did you find this watch?" And I just said it was done through a authorized dealer, and I mentioned the name, and obviously they seemed to know who he was, which is a good sign, obviously, if you're buying an expensive watch. The watch itself is a very unique type of watch, and not only in terms of how it looks, but in terms of the mechanism that comes with it. And I will talk about the mechanism just shortly. Let's just kind of briefly have a look about how the watch looks. So it's got an oyster bracelet here with the rose gold down the middle. This is the clasp over here, which has a nice function for release, as you can see. So when you're unlocking it over here, it kind of bends a bit, so it's easy to unlock it. And this is the bracelet itself. You can see Rolex branded on there with some codes and things like that. A cool feature of the clasp is that you can kind of increase and decrease the clasp slightly. It's a few millimeters, but as you can see here, this is in the closed function, and if I feel like my wrist is getting a bit fatter because of the heat, I could just kind of open it up and increase it a little bit to make it a bit more comfortable. So that's a cool feature. It's not the same like a dive watch, which can go over a dive suit, but this is mainly for functionality of everyday kind of wear. So that's a cool feature there. So the face itself is a very beautiful looking face. You've got a blue ceramic dial with rose gold accents on the side, with the numbers also being in rose gold. Now that's a very interesting touch to the watch. Alongside that, you've got a white face, and the hour and minute hands are in a blue color. In the 2018 variant, that has been changed. The hour and minute hands have been changed to the Submariner hands, as well as the 12 o'clock position and the 6 o'clock position dots have been changed slightly in terms of being a bit thinner. Alongside that, every hour point along the watch face, as you can see, is white with gold accents around it, and that's kind of symmetrical across the whole watch. Another feature here is the second countdown timer hand is in red, and the other arrow pointing to the 10 is what is regarded as the Regatta timer. And this is a very interesting feature of the watch, which we will just talk about shortly. At the bottom here, we have the second hand taken away, and this is a sweeping motion based on the Rolex movement, and it is a very nice looking dial. It gives a lot of uniqueness to the watch, definitely, and a lot of people have commented It's just because of how unique it looks, and that's something I really appreciate. So now let's talk about the two red hands that we have on the face itself. So what you see here is a second hand countdown timer, and you have a arrow pointer. And now how this works is this is based on yacht racing, and this is the reason why it is called the Yachtmaster. Right, so let's just demonstrate how the Regatta timer actually works and what exactly is it. So what happens here is if I want to set a certain minute, which is from 10, 9, 8, 7 down to 0, I need to turn the dial 90 degrees as so, and this will lock into place. Now the funny thing about this dial is it will only turn from the 6 to the 3 position, and that's it. Compared to the other types of watches which have these dials, they normally have a unidirectional turning dial. So this is an interesting feature of the watch. Once in this position, you can push down this bottom button here, and what happens is when I click this button here gets depressed, so it's pushed in and it's held in place. Now what happens is I can open the crown, as you can see, and what happens here is this locking feature here in the bottom button allows me to set the minutes of how I want the countdown to start from. And this is an interesting part and a characteristic of the watch itself. I'm 100% sure I would never use this in a real life scenario, but it's just part of the characteristic. So it's an interesting thing and a talking point, especially if you're out with friends or at a dinner table. You know, it's a cool talking point to have, and a unique thing that comes up with this watch. So let's just say we want to set up 8 minutes. So what I'll do is I will lock this back in, which is very important for the waterproofing sealant. Okay, so that's locked in. Now what will happen is I'll have to turn this dial back across from here to here. And as you can see very clearly, this depressed button will automatically get locked back up, as you can see. And now that's in the locked position. So it's actually quite a complicated kind of movement that has to be done in order just to get from 1 minute to the other. But you know, that's just how the watch is. Now let's just see how the timer works. I'll press the top button. As you can see here, the timer will start counting down. And as this obviously counts down, you will see the minute hand going from 8 towards 7. Right, so we've passed the 30-second mark, and another advantage or feature of this watch is it has a flyby timer. So if I press this button right now, it will automatically go to the closest minute that it has kind of passed by. So if I press it from this side, it will fly back to the 7, and instead of going from 7 to 6, it'll go back to the 7. So let's try that out. Boom. Now it's starting back from 7 again. Once the red hand passes the 6 mark right here at the bottom, it will, if I press the flyby button, it will go straight to the front and pushing it towards the 6. So let's kind of try that out just so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So we've got 5 seconds left now. Let's press this and boom. Now this has jumped to the 6. So yeah, that's pretty much how the Regatta timer works, and this is a feature used for yacht racing. It's a very unique feature. It's not something that's useful for every day, but it's just a cool characteristic that I feel and I appreciate about the watch and what it's trying to do. So now what will happen is, if I want to reset the whole thing, I'll press the top button for stopping the timer itself and the bottom button to reset the whole thing. And as you can see, the timer, the minute countdown timer starts, it goes back to 8. Right, so that's just a short kind of tutorial on the Regatta timer. I'm yet to find an actual real life scenario where I would actually use it, but it's a cool thing and it's a talking point, as I said before. I have been out and many people have noticed the watch, and that's a cool thing about this watch, is that it does stand out. It may not be for everyone, but you know, so far I feel like I'm quite happy with the purchase. It's a lot of money. There are 3 variants that come with this watch. There is a standard full steel, which is a nice watch as well. Then there's this, which is kind of the midpoint, and then there's a full solid gold, kind of yellow gold version as well. And in my opinion, I feel like that one is a bit too much. This is a kind of good in-between watch to go for, and it is a bit expensive. You can find on, especially on Chrono, they go for about $22,000, $21,000 in a used condition. Always make sure you have box and papers, and you're buying from an authorized dealer with good reviews, obviously. Yeah, so this is the watch, and I'm quite happy with it. I just wanted to show you as well the buttons, since I didn't. You have the Rolex crown over here and the 2 buttons on the side. An interesting thing I noticed is that there are 2 lines on the top button and 3 lines on the bottom. That's just something I noticed. I'm not sure what the significance is, but you know, that's there. Actually, let's put this on my hand. I'll remove my Omega watch, which I have on a NATO. This is the Omega Yachtmaster 300. This is also a good watch. I might do a small review on this one as well, but let's kind of put this watch on. And I have a small wrist, so considering that, it does fit quite well, and because the kind of lugs on the ends are quite roundish, it kind of fits your wrist quite nicely. So this has been opened up for the extra room, so I'll kind of close that here, as you can see, and then let's put that back on, and that should be a nicer fit for me. Yeah, perfect. As you can see, that's how it looks on my hand, and I do have a small wrist, so I don't feel like it overpowers my hand, and it does give a nice feel to the watch, and it's very heavy as well, actually, considering that. So that's another cool thing I like about this watch, is that you do feel that you're getting a heavy watch out of what's wearing on your wrist, and you know, I do like it. If you guys have any questions, do let me know. I'll try and answer them on how it feels owning this type of watch, and maybe I have missed a few things. I'll be happy to hear them, because I always like to hear other people's opinions on other watches as well. This has been the first kind of luxury watch I've bought. The second one has been this Omega Yachtmaster 300, which I will do a small review on. And yeah, so this is the watch itself, and quite happy with it. And thanks for watching, guys. Cheers.